What up, good people? What up? So, this is Simona with Lit Love Journey. And, we couldn't end the year properly without making sure to do the book pod episode on the book Ruthless with our reading buddy, The Book Alert. So, I hope y'all are ready for just a quick hour where we are going to give you some reading tips, talk a little bit about book club culture, and then, of course, about the book itself. You may or may not know this is our 10th episode, y'all. So when you think of Lit Love Journey, I really want you to focus on the fact that it's an action verb, right? It's a way for us to really focus on the journey that reading takes you on, right? Whether it's the fact that you met a new friend through reading, whether you took that trip, to a particular destination because you read about it, reading is definitely something that happens off the page too. So I'm super excited to bring on the organizer for the Book Alert. Please introduce yourself, sis.
Hi, thank you. Well, first and foremost, happy anniversary, 10 episodes. So very, very happy to be a part of that. So my name is Femi. I run the Book Alert, aka the Book Alert's Book Club. And it is an online book club but based in London. So we meet up every quarter for those who are based in London to talk about books. We also meet up online every single month for those who are not based in London who also want to talk about the same books. It started in 2020, just before the world went into lockdown. I had no idea what was coming. And then it just carried on through lockdown. And here we are now, almost 4 years later. So that is the Book Alert. That is the Book Alert's Book Club.
Yes. And 4 years is no small feat. I want to emphasize that. I don't know the stats, but can you... What has been the most frustrating thing about a book? Because most folks would think, okay, again, it's just you just wrangling people to meet and talk about a book. How hard could that be?
Oh, it's hard. And I think so when I originally started this, so we met up in person February 2020. So just to give everyone a little bit of background, so lockdown, COVID hit the UK towards the end of March 2020. So we met up in person in February 2020. We had no idea what was on the horizon. So originally it was meant to be a quarterly London-based book club. It was not meant to be online. I didn't have a Bookstagram. I didn't have an Instagram account. It was just the fact that my friends always came to me and were like, oh, Femi, we're going on holiday. What should I read? Femi, I've got some time off work and I'm not really watching anything. I want to read something. And I was like, you know what? Girls, why don't we just get together? We'll go to a nice restaurant, we'll get dressed up and we'll talk about a book. And so we did that in February and I was like, okay, so I'll see you guys again in May. No, no, that did not happen because of course lockdown came and the world literally went into shutdown for a year and a half, 2 years. So I had to take a little step back because the idea was to meet over food, over drinks, and talk about books. And then I created the Book Alert on Instagram, and I found that there are like-minded people that are reading and they want to talk about books. So let's do it online. So I found that during the first year, especially when everyone was at home, engagement was crazy. A lot of people were joining every single month. Even when I said I wanted to take a little break for Christmas and New Year, they were like, oh my gosh, no, we really want this. But as the world was opening up, I did kind of see a difference in attendance. I think people who perhaps picked up reading as a hobby during lockdown, they were like, oh, okay, the world is open again. I'm going to go back to what they normally do. But I think the most important thing is just to remind yourself that irrespective of the numbers, remind yourself what you're doing this for. I do this because I like to talk about books. So whether it's 5 people or 15 people joining, I think I can always have a great conversation about books. And every single person who joins, they're always like, oh my gosh, these conversations are amazing. So I really don't think it matters about the number, although of course, if numbers dip, it can be a little bit disheartening. And when you see a book club, you see everything that kind of goes into it in terms of the discussion. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, from picking a book. How does one even pick a book? Exactly. Making sure, because there's actually there's a lot of responsibility because People buying the book, right? Because you're choosing it.
Absolutely. And you pick a dud, it's over. Like,
right? And they will remember that. They won't remember the good books, the great books that you've chosen. They will remember the rubbish, quote unquote. Can I say that? Rubbish?
Yeah.
The not so liked books. They will remember those books. But yeah, I just think just finding your niche, finding your group, and just reminding yourself of why you're doing this. I think that is the key to 4 years.
And did you start with like a core, like was it best friends, family primarily, or strangers?
Yeah, so when we met up in person in February, it was literally my girlfriends, my friends who I wouldn't say they're regular readers, as in like they don't read, every day or every week. They read on holiday, or they read, do you know what I mean? They're not regular readers. And I said, okay, I kind of want to start this book club. Maybe we'll take some photos and we'll put it online. But it started as friends, but now it's strangers who have turned into friends. But now, like none of my best friends join it because they're like, oh, we don't need to know about me. You've established it now. But yeah, now it's strangers who join. Yeah,
I love that. So wait, your friends were like your almost like your starter group, right?
Yeah, starter group. I think they call themselves lab rats, but we don't want to use that term. Starter group is better.
Maybe not yet. It might not be best terms. I love that because the thing about it, like folks, everyone starts as a stranger, right? Like literally, even to some degree, your family, like you get to know them over time, and you learn like what that kinship looks like, right? And definitely, kinship is a great word, I think, to give a little bit of a teaser for segment 3 when we talk about the book, right? Kinship. Right. But you can have a kinship with readers, right? And some folks may say, oh, that's pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty compartmentalized. But I'm a bit curious with your book club, especially since there's an online version, are there like some unexpected adventures you've gone on because of the book club?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I would say that a few of the ladies who joined the first few online ones, they've become my really good friends. One of them, I attended her wedding. I attended her bachelorette, her hen do. It was abroad. It was in Spain. So I live in London. And so I went away with her for a hen do because we've actually become really good friends. Another one of the ladies, she lives in the south of the US. She lives in Alabama, and she's become one of my very good friends. She was around in London last year, and she's like, Femi, I'm around, let's go out. And to think literally 2-3 years ago, we literally did not know each other, and we've only connected via books, but the way that we relate with each other, the way that we, like, our bond is via books, but we just connect on so many other levels.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some strong friendships that have been formed. And I would say, yeah, I can't believe that I'm really good friends with someone from Alabama, a state, a place that I've never been to. I'm now really good friends with someone from there. So yeah.
That's beautiful, yo. Like, kudos. Like, and not just like kudos on the base level of like, the fact that those connections happen, but you're able to still maintain them.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's sometimes like the nugget, right? Because you may even meet people during like university years, you may meet people along travel, but being able to have something that continuously connects you together,
right?
Like reading through the pages,
right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and even sorry, just to add on to that. So the friend who got married recently, and I attended her wedding. Maybe about 7 of us from the book club attended. And I remember my friend who I was seated next to, a girl who I did not know prior to the book club. She said, Femi, just look around this table. Like, we literally all connected via your book club. We're literally all friends at someone's wedding because of your book club. So this is something that, you should be proud of. So I'm definitely proud of that. Absolutely. But yeah, these are long-lasting friendships, hopefully.
Yes. I mean, that's organizing work. That is, and I don't know what you do on your day job, but like, again, being able to manage the two, you are an organizer. And I think there's a special space, I feel like, in the world for people who are creating community. And that's super beautiful,
Thank you. And you know what? Because this started during lockdown as well, lockdown was a hard time. Lockdown was a hard time for me. I know a lot of people who lived alone, especially, they may not even had, much contact. So I think we heard the word community a lot, but I think when you really think about it, people were really lacking community. So I'm just very blessed that people were able to find that kinship and that community by the book alert. So hopefully long may that continue.
Yes. And just to make sure, so in terms of how people can tap in, of course, it's UK based. But even if you're outside of the UK, can you just tell folks one more time, like, how can they tap in to the book alert?
Yeah, sure. So, so it is UK based, but we only meet up in person once every quarter, once every 4 to 5 months. The main stuff happens online. So we meet online via Zoom. So as long as you have internet access, you can join. So whether you are in Angola, if you're in Australia, if you're in Zimbabwe, you can join. All you need is internet access. So what happens if you are interested? Just find me on Instagram. Just send me a DM. So find the book alert on Instagram. Send me a DM saying, you're interested in joining the book club, and you can join as frequently or as infrequently as you want. Reading is meant to be fun. It's not meant to be, a chore. So if you find that, I only read one book every 3 months, join once every 3 months. If you only read once every 6 months, join once every 6 months. Actually, I have a lot of free time. I read every single day, join every month. So completely up to you.
I love that. Y'all, if y'all didn't hear the nugget, I feel like there is non-committal, right? Like, plug in when you want to plug in. Which
Absolutely.
I think is super.
Absolutely.
Some folks would say, you should come every month, and like there's these strict rules, but to hear that it's relaxed.
No, it's relaxed. Absolutely. I mean, you will find that there are people who come every month because, like you said, we built this. Like before we start talking about the book, we catch up about our lives, what's going on, whose man is doing what, whose kid is getting on whose net. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so you may want to, just because of that friendship, you may want to join every month, but it is completely up to you.
I love that. And so this is also something you said a second ago. I feel like it's a great segue when we were talking about, and I was remiss to, I never play the songs. I do add them in some of the audio clips. The first segment, I always want to like pair a song to the segment because for me, music is part of the journey. Like every book, I even notate like the songs that are mentioned. I create these playlists.
Okay, interesting.
Mind you, I need to share these playlists more.
Right?
Just to talk about it. But the song that I think that best describes like folks that get that Lit Love journey is about, like, again, that adventure, that process of what happens when you read, is the song by Lion Babe, We Lit. And I love that song because she's like in the very beginning, she's talking about, we lit, we lit, we lit. Like, it's just a very happy, energetic song that kind of gets you into that. It's like self-promotion of like who you are as an individual or collective, right? Okay. And when I thought about like this podcast and like how I wanted to like pair with different book clubs and have a reading buddy, there's another song. And again, I'm just telling you the background because I wanted us to like be in that mindset. And so for segment 2, there's a song too. But like, do you remember the Cabbage Patch Dolls season of like, my buddy, my buddy?
I mean, I know the dolls, but they weren't that popular over here. So I'm looking at you and I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I know the dolls, but I don't know the song.
Like, everybody wanted that doll at one point, right? It was just the idea of like having someone to like pair with, right?
Having a friend.
The doll, that was it's really good advertising because the dolls weren't even that cute.
No, actually, they really weren't. They're actually a little bit scary. Like, you can get a cute doll for sure.
They were scary. Like, but the song of having a buddy, and I appreciate you for sharing about your book club and being a reading buddy and being able to go alongside, your selection for this is your October selection, right?
Right.
And being able to read it for me in the November, December, and those who are reading with Lit Love Journey, I think. I don't know. It was serendipitous because like it was just such a perfect read even for that time period, which I'll go into why I think that is. But for segment 2, we're leading up to again the song piece of it all. The song that we want to really focus on when we talk about reading lifestyle is by Rich Gang. And mind you, I don't really listen to Rich Gang, Young Thug, or Rich Homie Quan. All those names sound kind of foreign to me.
Same here. Maybe I'm showing my age, but I'm like, what? But okay.
I don't know those artists. But the song is cute. It's like lifestyle, like again, self-promotion of like it's cute. So I wanted to like segue into like your reading lifestyle. And I think you gave us a hint that you read every day. Did I hear you say that?
I mean, I do try to, even if it's just a few pages, even if it's just a chapter every day. I mean, I do. So just to put some background, just to give some context, I work full time. So I'm a pharmacist. I work in pharmaceutical law. So it's not the easiest of jobs. It's a full on job. It's a full time job. So me doing the book alert, me doing the book club, it is just my hobby. It's a passion. It's an interest. But I do have a full time job. So I do try to read every day. And I do find that the days that I don't read, I sometimes feel like a bit anxious. Maybe I'm just like, oh, it's just my way just to decompress. In my previous job, so I've always been a reader right from a very, very young age. I've never left the house without a book. And in my previous job, so before that, actually, in uni, I kind of took a break from reading because, you know, you're reading to study and you're not really going to pick up a book now, but you just kind of want to watch Netflix or just chill with friends, whatever. After I graduated, I kind of got back into reading again. And then I got my first full-time job after graduating, and it was a very stressful job. And I just needed a release, and reading was my release. And I just kind of got into the habit of reading every day. So even when I go to work, when I go to the office, sometimes they want to have lunch all together. And I'm like, guys, I just really kind of want to read. I just kind of want to read. To the point where one of my colleagues was joking around with my manager, was like, oh, Femi's always reading. Like, no, I read on my lunch break. Please don't get it twisted. I only read on my lunch break. I do take my work very seriously, but you will catch me with a book.
I'm laughing because that's relatable.
Right?
During the lunch, like, get away.
She tried it with my manager. Like, Femi's always reading. I'm like, nope. On her lunch break, she's reading. Please don't get it twisted. But you know what? There are periods and seasons in your life where you will be busy. And I think it's really important that even if you go stretches without reading, that doesn't make you any less of a reader. I think especially now with social media, I think, and everyone at the moment, they're doing their like end of year, you know, wrap ups. And, you know, some people have read 20 books, some people have read 200 books. I was watching someone on their stories, and I think she said she read 200 books, and I was just like, whoa. Wow, okay. And here I am proud of my little like 50 books. You're there with 200. But that doesn't make her more of a reader than me. Do you know what I mean? It's just that everyone you just have to just try and see how reading fits into your life, which is why for the book club, I make it a point to stress that, you know, it needs to fit around you, you know. So like I said, if you can only join once every quarter, that's absolutely fine. But for me, I try to just read like a chapter a day. Yeah.
I love that. Pick what works for your lifestyle.
Absolutely. And if that means reading on my lunch break, that's the only time I get to, because maybe when I come home, I've got other things to do. That's absolutely fine. You know, just find what works for you, for sure.
And that's your prerogative. If you want to read every day on your lunch break, that's your prerogative.
Absolutely. If I do not want to socialize sometimes, you know, just let me be in my little corner, you know.
Look, I think we just gave a reading hack, y'all, or a life hack. You don't want to be bothered with them coworkers.
But you know what? Having a book, it's just like having earphones in. Sometimes people will just still disturb you.
Yeah, they will.
They don't care if there's a book there or the earphones there. But you know, you can try.
Basically, look. So the fact that you read every day, you take it to the workplace, you read it during your lunch break. So I'm curious, especially for like folks, you shared something a bit ago, like you've always been one to carry a book with you.
Right.
Again, relatable. In my family, I was considered the book carrier.
Right.
Like, Mona don't always want to socialize. I don't. Sometimes I just want to be in my book, and I do.
Right.
Where's your favorite place to read? Like, whether it's in your home or outside, like what's your jam? Like, where can you go to just like
Yeah. So two places popped up straight away. So I'm going to like cheat and give you two places. But the first place that came up was my sofa. So after I've come home from work, I've had a nice long hot shower, I've had dinner. Just before I go to sleep, I tend to read like a chapter or two on my sofa, literally just, and it's just, I think it's my favorite place to read. I mean, the sofa is so cozy as well. So you might find yourself, nodding off. But that is my ultimate favorite place to read. And the second place that came to my mind, which is probably more listening. So when I do go into the office, it's a bit of a drive. So I tend to do audiobooks. And when I'm just driving, I just need an audiobook. And my gosh, you can just get lost in the story. Before you know it, you're not even focusing on the road. Please focus on the road. Please, safety first. But yeah, audiobooks during a long drive, they are a game changer. So yeah, my car and my sofa.
Warning.
So yeah.
Thank you for giving that safety warning.
Absolutely, please be safe, please.
I've had moments where I'm like, this is no longer safe. Let me cut this book off.
Let me come back to that later.
I love it. And so in the UK rather, I'm sorry, in your neighborhood, are there any like particular bookstores or places where like, oh yeah, it's the whole vibe. You go there to read and you just like, again, it's almost like in which I love social media is encouraging romanticizing, right? The things that we do on a regular everyday basis, but just elevates it when you take intentionality about your environment. Any places like that come to mind?
Oh, and maybe I need to make this like a New Year goal to find one, but I have to be honest with you, there's no place that kind of jumps out to me like, oh, okay, this is a place where I would get up and go with my book, maybe grab a cup of hot chocolate or something. No, there's no place that, I'm sure that there are places around, but I haven't discovered them. So maybe that's something that I need to make a point to do next year.
Look, and door to you, like those venues, those places, bookstores, cafes, maybe they need to elevate their game to you and like reach out to you and like realize that there are communities, right, that sometimes will come patronize their establishment if they know it's a vibe. Like readers especially enjoy vibes. And I think one of the most telling conversations that have happened, at least for Lit Love Journey recently online, was a post that basically called into question, like, people don't really read at bars. Who does that? Yes, some of us really do read.
Some people do.
At a bar.
Maybe not your bar, but some people do. Absolutely.
It's a real thing. Like, so yeah, maybe they hear this too and get inspired. So I love it. It is okay. So when we think about although there may not be a place where you go, if you had to say to someone who's like, yeah, I never have time. I mean, you gave one life hack already. Do it during your lunch. But I am a bit curious. There's if I'm describing it wrong, correct me. The escapism of reading, like it takes you to a different place. Like you can decompress. You said a bit ago, like it's an opportunity to release. Reading is a release, I think is what I heard.
Yeah.
Any other reasons why you read a book, or you would encourage someone who is trying to incorporate into their lives, their new 2024, especially since we're on the verge of a new year?
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody?
Yeah, I think for me, reading really opens your mind. It really opens your mind to new cultures. It opens your mind to countries, to people that you may not necessarily interact with in your years on this earth. Like, the world is vast, and I think it will be, very difficult to meet, everyone from every single country, from every culture. But books allow you to travel the world without moving your feet. I saw that quote years ago, and that has just stuck with me. So I've always made it a point to read, not only to escape, but to learn. So whether that's to learn about my own history, my own culture, my own ethnicity, maybe things that I didn't know about, my culture. I found out, through books, maybe it's things about, other cultures, other races, other countries and communities that I may not necessarily interact with on a regular basis. I've learned so much from like different wars, different time periods in history, even things that are happening now that I'm not very privy to. Get a book and you can learn about it. And this is non-fiction. I'm talking about fiction. Like fiction teaches you so much. So I would say that's another reason why I read, not only to escape, but to learn. I've learned so much.
And that's a gem, I think, that you shared, and something that perhaps isn't highlighted enough. Fiction absolutely is a teaching tool. Like fiction often, especially good writers, they will do their research. They will make sure that their writing is based on fact or as close as possible to fact. So I would totally agree. And even in sometimes the way writers will describe a particular place, a particular scene, like it's pretty accurate. So I agree. Nonfiction isn't the only teaching tool.
Absolutely.
You know, read a novel and learn.
Absolutely. And you can even learn about yourself or learn about, like I said, one of the first books that I read after taking a break from reading during uni. So one of the books that I read after getting back into regular reading, let's say, was Half of the Yellow Sun. And it was about the war in Nigeria. So I'm of Nigerian descent. Both my parents are Nigerian. But I had no idea about this civil war that took place in the 20th century. And I was just like, wait, what? This is real. And I went on Google and I was just like, oh my goodness, this book is fictional, but these things happened. And this is about my own people. So just imagine the kind of things that one can learn for a fictional book. So yeah, do not limit yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you said something a bit ago, again, those uni professors, those who want to work for university, there's an opportunity sometimes, and I think a missed opportunity that maybe isn't always like apparent, like encouraging students to like develop their love for reading or reignite it. Let's call it that way. Like it's even a reignition. I think is an important way to look at it. You don't always have to have like an academic book. You know, you can assign your students a novel, a beautiful novel, so long as it's written like, and they can learn. To your point about history, because I hated my history. My history class was the worst.
Oh, was it? I actually really liked my history class, but I think I had a crush on my teacher. But I really liked my history. I loved history. You know what? I think it also depends on what you're taught. Like, there's a lot of things that we were not taught. We can talk about that another day, though, because I think we can spend a whole entire segment talking about the gaps in history that we just kind of gloss over, especially in the UK. But you know, I'm not going to go there because if I start, I won't stop.
Understand. Like, say less. I understand. And that being said, in terms of like, again, talking about it, but like, or talking around a thing, sometimes I think it's really important. And I feel this way about books, right? I do, on like individually, I'll like create sometimes these book reactions, I call them. And I've been doing it again for years. I want to work to promote them better. But like, anyway, like there's a thing of like giving your summation of a book, but then there's also like just hitting the highlights. And that's what we're going to do for segment 3. Right? We're going to make sure to, you know, let it be known that we're going to do books up, bad vibes down. Okay. Books up, bad vibes down. Uh-oh, it's in the screen. And do y'all notice this is the book? And this is segment 3. If you aren't feeling where we're going to talk about this book here. And this book, Feme, like, let's start with the cover. I know it wasn't necessarily a question that was on the agenda for today, but I can't help but notice the clear distinction. And of course, I shared this before we even started. I have my idea, but like if you had to say difference in covers, which one do you love more and why?
Oh, so I mean, I'm a sucker for a black girl on the cover of any book. I think to me that's a massive selling point. I don't even need to know what the book is about. I will buy the book. But I think the reason why I prefer this one to the UK cover, because it has Sam and FA on the cover. And I think Rootless is not just FA's story, it's Sam's story as well. There are 2 main characters in this book. There are 2 main characters in Rootless. So for that reason, I do prefer this cover, the UK cover. for sure.
And let's just say this out loud. I agree. You know, I'm just gonna say I agree because although I did a book recreation of this cover, and mind you, it was so difficult to do because, well, one, I still have the nails, as you can see. I don't know. I still have the nails.
Oh, lovely! I can see.
Man, I've gotten so many compliments, and I'm like, y'all like, okay. So whoever did this,
They're nice nails. Yeah, they're nice nails.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is kind of cute. I would never in a million years. I've never even worn pink a day in my life, really. I got the earrings because
got the earrings in as well.
All because of this book cover, y'all. I went on a whole journey trying to figure out.
Lit love journey, absolutely.
Look, it's more difficult than it looks. This hand contortion, it's impossible. I don't know what woman can actually. If you could do this, like, kudos to you, sis. Like, it was difficult. So I don't like the cover for all those reasons. Like, it was difficult. But I agree with you. Like, the story is absolutely about the two of them, right? Mm-hmm. And all of the offshoots, right? And again, I do think it's interesting that this is the American version. That's the UK version. But, you know, again, I'm a talking about leader, maybe in my book reaction. But I am curious, like, what type of journey did this book take you on?
Oh, where do I even start? So let me just start by saying I absolutely love this book. So when I pick books for book club, I don't read them in advance unless perhaps I've read a book and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to discuss this book with someone. And maybe I'll go online and I'll be like, has anyone read this book? And no one's read it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm making a book club pick. But more times than not, I read at the same time as everyone else in the book club. So I literally picked it up because of the name and because of the cover and because I saw that it was written by a British West African writer. And as I mentioned, I'm of West African descent. I'm a Londoner. So I have to support my own. I've got to support a fellow London West African person, because if you don't support your own, then who will? So that is the only reason why I picked up this book. I did not know what it was about. But I think by the second chapter, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. And lo and behold, I'm done reading for the year now. And 100% it's in my top 8. But just to go to your question, this book really is, it's about the love that you have for someone, but that love that you have for someone, is it stronger than the desires that you have for yourself? So here we see, and I'm trying to really not spoil it here, but Efe, this is in the blurb, this is in the summary, so this is not a spoiler. Efe, she has some concerns about children, okay? But she loves this man, she loves her man, and he wants children, he doesn't want children. I'm gonna leave it at that. But the reason why I think this book speaks to a lot of people is because in the West African community, I'm going to make a massive generalized statement here, so I do apologize, but just from the discussions that I've had, I don't think I am inaccurate by saying this. It is quite uncommon for a West African woman to say that she doesn't want children. The assumption is that as soon as a West African woman gets married, like, children are expected. Like, as soon as you come back from honeymoon, are you pregnant yet? You know, like, when are you popping out a baby? So I think to see a story where a woman of that particular background has expressed this kind of desire, it was refreshing. I've not seen that before. And I think it spoke to a lot of people. And even though there's this man that, you know, she absolutely adores, it's like, what does she do? You know? And yeah, I think that's why this book is so good. I really do think it brought like a real fresh perspective on a topic that is not often discussed in this community.
That's real. I appreciate you for, you know, I know you gave the preface of like, oh, it's a generalization, but, you know, also taking into account that you are the organizer of a book club. You've had conversation with your folk and you are of the descent. Like, I think that's a real thing to put in perspective, especially if you are an American reading this, right? Because we may not necessarily understand what that weight feels like, right? Because it is different culturally, right? I think women American women, even if you are African American, like can lead lives that are less abound to those traditions, right? Because there's so much of Western culture and mindset kind of, we're indoctrinated into, right? So the idea is like you have more independence in how you want to lead your life, and culturally there is not this, again, heaviness. So I appreciate you for sharing that. I think that is an important piece of information to keep in mind when reading this and understanding more about who FA is.
Absolutely.
And I read this one reviewer, and she said she was what did she call it? She called herself an outlier. She was an outlier review, and I think it was on like one of the big boys. I can't book. It was one of the big reviewers, and she said she was an outlier, and she just totally hated the book, right?
Okay.
And she totally hated the book, I think, because she didn't want to understand FA's perspective. She didn't want to understand where she was coming from, like at all. Not as a woman, culturally, like her, like none of that. She just entirely looked at this character as selfish, and I think it's super important. That's why I love the UK book cover more than the American cover. Okay, because they understand like the duality, right? In any one person's story, there's usually a supportive or leading. There's another person. There's another entity. Like we don't live this life alone, right? Our lives are interconnected. So that being too said about the interconnectedness and things like that, this title. What did what do you think of this?
Rootless. So because this was actually a question I had asked everyone at the book club, why do you think Crystal, the author, why do you think she named this book Rootless? And the answer I think is multifaceted. So I think the first thing that I thought of, and a few of the ladies said this as well, is that FA wasn't rooted in a home. So again, this is not a spoiler, but she moved from Ghana to the UK and Ghana. So she moved back and forth. So she made it feel like she wasn't rooted, in a home. She didn't really have, roots somewhere. So that could be one aspect. And I think maybe as well that could have influenced her desire or lack of a desire to have children. Maybe that lack of foundation that she felt, that lack of home. I do think that may have had a part to play in her decision for not perhaps wanting children. Rootless, because even in her decision making, even in her stance, it felt as if because of the cultural pressures, maybe pressures from her husband as well, it felt like her decision had no weight. So it's like, okay, this is what I want, but because of who I am and because of my background and because of I'm a woman, what is the point in even me having this position or this stance? Because it doesn't seem as if you guys are really hearing me, you're not hearing what I'm saying. So I felt like she was almost floating sometimes. And even when you read her chapters, it's almost like a diary, like a subconscious kind of diary entry, as if like she's not all the way here. She's just kind of like floating through life because she feels as if she's not really heard. So those were our kind of reasons as to why we thought the book was called Rootless. But what about you, though? I'm actually quite curious to know.
So I love your perspective about the floating, right? And again, I told you my mind always thinks in music. So initially, Janelle Monáe, the song Floating, right?
Okay.
And of course, that's more of celebratory. But this idea of not having roots and floating, I just love that imagery. But I also think there's another part of me, like, because you can also name a book like this and say like, oh, without roots, or like, I think there are other ways to convey this word and maybe ways that would have given a bit more description. But the fact that the author chose to use like this one word and it's so jarring, and at least for this cover especially, like it's bold, it's in yellow, and there's all these vibrant colors. I mean, even down to, again, the characters nails, and she herself is adorned in such a way that I do wonder was part of the reason for the word rootless is because it's so similar to the word ruthless.
Ruthless, okay.
Because again, thinking about that one reviewer, the outlier, who again just hated FA's guts. Like, she just had nothing good to say about FA. And I'm like, yo, that's so funny, because like, you know, I always look at a book and say to myself, what character do I identify with most? I identify with FA most, hands down. And this is as someone who was, you know, married young at like 23. Like, I absolutely identified with FA's character. Like, there's so much responsibility that comes with marriage, particularly at a younger age, where it's just like, oh, you don't realize, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Especially if you haven't been given that, you know, like training or guidance. So I do wonder, is it the part of the reason for the book title is because it's so close to the word ruthless. And are we to look at her as a villain? Because we are, as readers, we're often wanting to so much identify, like, who's the villain? Who's the villain? Who's the protagonist? You know, these are words we learn in early on. Who's the antagonist? Who's the protagonist? And so from your, that was my take, because is there an antagonist in this book?
Well, I mean, what you've just said is just like, my mind is just like racing. I'm trying to like go back to the conversation that we had in October about this book, because what you said about ruthless, right? Someone had said, so I cannot go into too much depth, but the way that FA is treated in this book, especially towards the end, that is the way society treats women who do not want children. Like, you know, they're discarded, they're, you know, we treat them in this way, we're ruthless with them because they've gone against the norm. So I just thought that was really, really interesting. But just to go back to your question, so I remember when I said that I was reading this book for book club, and a few people had said that they'd already read it, and I got some messages from people saying, oh, you're going to go into this book and by halfway, you're going to be like either Team Sam or Team FA. Like, you're either gonna really root for one of them and just be like, the other one is selfish, you're not understanding the other person's point of view. There's no way you are going to understand both sides. So it's just really interesting that, you know, that person, you know, the outlier review, you know, said, you know, they could not stand FA, they could not understand her decision making, etc. Because it does seem as if, and even in this cover, you can see there's a split in the middle. So it's as if like they were together, but they weren't on the same page. Like there's a divide between them. I don't know if there was a villain in this story. I just think it was two broken people who loved each other, who were trying to make it work. But I don't think they had the tools to really make it work. I think both of them. So Sam had some trauma from his parents. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I think he came into that relationship carrying a lot of weight. FA herself, you know, she had some interactions in her school. She had some racism as well. I think she came in to that relationship with a lot of weight on her shoulders. So I don't think that there wasn't a villain. I just think it was two broken people who didn't really know how to make it work.
Yeah, and I'm totally of the same, you know, perspective, in that there wasn't for me either. You know, I think I love, and I can't remember the age of the writer, and not to say that matters, but kudos, like, in terms of the writing style, in terms of the weight, like she takes on, especially with you sharing what you did about like the weight of West African women to like being mothers
Right.
as soon as they marry. Like she takes on such a heavy topic, and I feel like she's in her 20s. That could be.
I think there's a picture of her, and she looks really young.
Yeah.
She looks really young. She looks like early 20s to me. I don't know.
It's given that, like,
yeah.
kudos. Like, I feel like that within itself is so like brave, right, to take on such a heavy topic. Even talking about like marriage, again, not knowing if she is per se married, but like just making the assumption she's not, like, that is a brave thing to take on. And as a debut writer, like, for me, I was blown away. Like,
absolutely,
kudos to you, Crystal. Okay, she did the dang thing. I feel like wrote so beautifully. What was your favorite though about the writing style? Anything you would say to the author about this book?
I think she wrote the character of Sam very well. I mean, she wrote Efe well, but I just think as a woman, it's kind of what I expected because she's a woman writing a woman. She's from Ghana, she's from London. She's writing about her own people. So I'm not that surprised that she wrote Efe as a woman very well. But I think to write the opposite sex, I think sometimes I don't know if I could write a man very well because I'm not a man, you know. But I do think she wrote his character very, very well, and he came across as very authentic. He was flawed, but he was still lovable. And I also thought it was really refreshing to kind of get the perspective of a man who wanted children. Again, I don't know if I've seen that in a story, and just to kind of see what a man kind of goes through where your partner is on the opposite page, like the turmoil. I think we always think of the woman first, and rightly so, because she's the one who is carrying the child. But I just thought it was quite refreshing to kind of get the male perspective on this kind of topic. I've not really seen that before.
I totally agree. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Again, kudos to you, Crystal. Like, I always, part of me always wants to like make sure to give the writers their flowers, especially debut authors, because I feel like it is such a labor of love, right? To produce a book, a story that moves us to think about a particular topic or topics. So even when we think about all of those that are layered in this book, particularly that of marriage and family, yeah, what's your take? Like, what does this book ultimately say about marriage and family?
Oh, what a question. I think because it was very interesting because I think there was a complex or a tumultuous mother-daughter relationship here, but there was also a very, very close bond between the two sisters, and the name of her younger sisters left my brain now, but they were very, very close. And I think ultimately the book is saying that, you know, your family, I think ultimately they do want the best for you, but you're the only one who walks in your shoes. You're the only one who lives your life. So even though mum wanted best for Efe, I don't think mum knew to the extent of the trauma that Efe had been through. I don't think mum knew about some of the things that really happened in Efe's life. So yeah, she's coming from the perspective of, oh yeah, you're married, you need to have children, etc., etc. But she doesn't know what goes on in Efe's mind day in, day out. But I do think ultimately it's saying that your family does want the best for you. But I think also as well, I think it gets to a point where it's like you have to stand up for yourself and be like, you know what, mum, dad, I love you, but I need to walk in my own truth. And I think ultimately your family will be there for you, and that they will love you and they will receive you. And it can be difficult if you are going against them. It can be difficult. But family is there for a reason. Family is family. You can't choose your family. So, and I think over time they will welcome you back. Although I think with this book, with the ending, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna leave it like that.
No, it's hard. It's hard, y'all. So if you're not getting these vibes, you need to pick up your copy.
You need to pick up the book. You need to pick up the book. But even with Sam, like, we can see that he welcomed her back, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, family, for saying it the way you did. 'Cause, y'all, it is so hard to talk about this book on highlight only and no spoilers. And you know, it's funny you said again. I'm gonna go back to something you shared, your perspective about like her floating, right? And the book title. What's so interesting, even on a personal note, like, so this tattoo here says family first, right?
Okay.
It's in like a cursive script, right? Mind you, this is how life can be so funny and I think ironic. And sometimes we do have to, like, even with, like, again, books being teaching tools, like, realize, okay, what's the message here? Like, what can we take from it that can help us, like, improve how we live in, improve how we show up for ourselves. But I got this with friends, not even necessarily my friends. It was my husband's friends. We all decided on a day, like, oh yeah, let's get a tattoo, because definitely culturally, like that is us. We are still that couple who just enjoys getting tattoos and piercings randomly, right? We did it on our anniversary. We did it one of them years. Like, just let's go do it, yeah. And this is the name of a song title of one of his friends who they have a rap career, and so they have a song called Fan First. And what's so interesting about, again, this character, one could say that, you know, and this isn't a spoiler, but like FA's the first family you have should be yourself. And so constantly she was looking, I think, for her home. I think you were right. She was looking for like that internal home to feel comfortable, to like share her thoughts, to connect with others, to be her most authentic self. But often she didn't have it, and maybe she didn't have it to the end of the book. And you know, I thought it was really beautiful to see what that thing was that encouraged her to, maybe for the first time in the storyline, like she finds a home. I think she does find a home. And because she uses that medium of art in such a way where she's able to kind of take a step back and see herself and find that home. And we are our first family. And I think that, to me, is like one of the most poignant things about this book. I think it can illustrate that the first family you have is like within self.
Absolutely.
And so long as you're good within self, you know, all the rest, you know, it will eventually, like, you know, to come into play. Because who's to say with Sam, yo? I mean, let's predict. Will Sam, if there's a part 2, if Sam don't get together with his mama, is he ever going? Is he gonna find a better? Is this home life gonna be better with any other? I almost said something. Ooh.
I was watching. I was like, please do not say what I think you're going to say about the ending.
I was about to say. Okay, if Sam doesn't fix his relationship with his mom,
okay.
If there were a part 2, how would he? What does life look like?
Right. If he doesn't
fix his relationship with his mom,
what would life?
Which is a part of like.
It'd be fine.
It'd be fine
because I don't know how to answer this question without giving too much away, but I think he has what he needs. I think he has his home. He's built a new home. And I think he will be okay if he does not fix the relationship with his mom. I think it will hurt because it took so long for him to break down those walls to let her back in again. But I think he's okay. He will be okay.
Okay. Just wondering. So, Crystal, if there's a part 2, sis, let us know. We want to
let us know.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Because we love the book. Couldn't tell.
Absolutely.
We love to be first readers. Give some feedback, you know? But yes, great pick. Thank you so much again for being the reading buddy for the last of the year. Excellent choice. I would have never learned about this book, I'm certain, you know, if not for you. So thank you. I appreciate you for being available for this reschedule too. Please let folks know, like, is there any future plans that you just really want to make sure to highlight as you look forward to 2024?
I mean, firstly, thank you so much for having me. So with book club, I'm so used to fielding the questions and you know, putting the questions out there. So it's quite nice. It's quite refreshing to kind of be on the other side and have someone ask me the questions. So no, thank you for having me for sure. I mean, so we go again. So for book club, we have an end of year break. So there was no book club in December. But we go again in January and we're reading a book set in Canada, I believe. It's called Hold My Girl. And as soon as I picked it because of the cover and because of the title. I don't know too much about it, but I have a feeling it's going to be a very good book. So I'm starting to read it on the 1st January. It's going to be my first book of the year. So if the title sounds appealing, Hold My Girl by Charlene Carr, I believe her name is. If it sounds appealing to you, DM me. We're actually going to have her join the book club as well. So hold my girl, get hold of it. I'm sure there's some Christmas, New Year sales going on in bookshops, wherever you are. Grab a copy. Let's read together in 2024.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for being
Thank
available with me.
you.
I really do.
Have me back as well. This is so
I
fun.
love that. Like, especially like again, stay with me. Stay with, like we reading buddies for life. That's how I look at it.
100%.
For life. It will continuously get better. So I would love to absolutely have you back, and maybe 1 month pop into what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't even think I quite realized the online components, to be honest with you. You probably said it, but I probably like
No, it's fine.
it didn't dawn on me like, oh, I'm not in the UK. I'm gonna make that happen.
No, we're mainly online. We only meet in person once every quarter or so. So yeah, it's all
Okay,
good.
I love it. Well, look, you got readers in Alabama. You got another in North Carolina. Okay.
Oh yes.
Add that to your mapping of
Absolutely.
connections. So thank you for taking the journey with me, the love journey. Please know that I'm always here to support what you are doing. Feel free at any time, tag me, whatever the case may be. Anytime, like happy to voice that whatever it is you are doing. Keep up your work of connecting and creating community, because it is important. It is valued. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yeah, same to you, and Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you. You too.
And I'm just gonna take a picture of us if that's okay, so I can share
absolutely.
it.
Make sure my light is good though.
No, you look good. You look good. Your skin is like there's not a single blemish in sight. Honestly, it's good.
Oh my goodness, I had a skin emergency recently. I did something.
There's like literally no
what?
spots. Yeah, no,
it must be the light at the window, right by the window. Like it's the light.
It's the light. It's you, girl. It's you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take a picture. Oh no, I've lost it. Have I lost it? Are you still here? No. Okay, let's try that one more time.
Okay.
Girl, it doesn't want to do it. Let's try that one more time, and then we'll.
Computers. Oh.
Okay. Okay, it's okay.
Okay. Thank you so much again.
All right, then.
All right.
See you soon. Bye.